They remain, without doubt, two of the most famous British film comedians of all time, known worldwide for their hilarious slapstick antics. Londoner Charlie Chaplin and Lancastrian Stan Laurel not only sailed to America before the First World War in search of fame, but were close friends who roomed together for 3 years. But while both found stardom, Chaplin with his little tramp persona and Laurel with his US comedy partner Oliver Hardy, the teenage friends fell out and never spoke again. So how and why did they fall out? The story of the two legendary comics has recently been examined on stage in a touring show, Laurel and Chaplin, The Feud. It's likely Chaplin's meteoric rise to fame after meeting actor, director and studio boss Max Sennett, whose Keystone Studios in LA gave him his early break, is to blame. They worked together on shared rooms, but, after Chaplin joined Max Sennett, that was it, explains writer and producer of The Feud, John Conway. There is no known record of them ever meeting again. So I wanted to find out more. Both Stan Laurel and Charlie Chaplin came from performing backgrounds. The strange forgotten story of Charlie Chaplin's grave robbers. Laurel's father Arthur Jefferson was an actor and theater manager, while Chaplin's parents were both on the stage. But their upbringings were very different. Laurel's family weren't wealthy but comfortably off. Chaplin, by contrast, was brought up in extreme poverty. His early years were spent in and out of grim Victorian workhouses and institutes for destitute children. This harsh Dickensian childhood gave Chaplin a sense of insecurity which he never lost. By the time he was 10, he was regularly performing on stage in a clog dancing company. Chaplin and Laurel, then going under the name of Stanley Jefferson, joined theater impresario Fred Carnot's pantomime troupe, performing comedy sketches in music halls up and down the country. Laurel described himself as Chaplin's understudy, but in fact everyone had to be able to cover for each other. In September 1910, the two friends set sail with the other Fred Carnot players for a tour of North America, the converted cattle ship they were on first calling in Montreal, Canada. Chaplin in particular was determined to make his mark. Laurel later recalled how, on sight of land, his friend dashed to the boat's railings crying, "America! I am coming to conquer you. Every man, woman and child shall have my name on their lips." Charles Spencer Chaplin. Simon Luvish, author of Stan and Ollie, The Roots of Comedy, says, as he was addressing the shoreline of Quebec rather than the U.S., "We can imagine young Stanley standing by, puzzled, perhaps scratching his head in what would become a world-famous work." While reviews of Carnot's shows were mixed, Chaplin as lead performer was singled out for special praise. Laurel soon left the tour to return to England, but, finding little success back home, went on a second tour of America with Carnot in 1912. It was then that Chaplin was headhunted by the film producer Sennett and his Keystone Studios company and made an offer he couldn't refuse. Laurel hoped that, with Chaplin gone, he would now replace him in the lead role, but he was passed over. Meanwhile, Chaplin soon became a huge star in the new medium of silent films. This became the cause of the falling out. Laurel claimed that Chaplin had vowed that if he did strike it lucky in Hollywood he wouldn't forget his old roommate and would offer him a helping hand. But none was forthcoming. Bizarrely, Laurel didn't receive a single mention in Chaplin's 500-page autobiography. While, in a letter, auctioned in 2017, he described his former friend Chaplin as mean and cheap and claimed the star showed signs of insanity. In a 1957 letter, Laurel wrote, "He, Chaplin, never to my knowledge ever had any time for any of his close friends who worked with him in the early days. I was closely associated with Charlie for 2 or 3 years. I was his understudy and shared rooms with him on many occasions, so am fully aware of his idiosyncrasies." He added, "He was a very eccentric character, composed of many moods, at times signs of insanity, which I think developed further when he gained fame and fortune." Don't miss. AI unveils what Michael Jackson would look like today, 14 years after his death. Latest, Elvis Presley's custom revolver sold for eye-watering 6-figure sum. Discover, George and Amal Clooney spotted in sweet display ahead of Venice Film Festival. Insight, a man with a tremendous libido. Chaplin confessed to having slept with more than 2,000 women. Procreation is nature's principal occupation, and every man, whether he be young or old, when meeting every woman, measures the potentiality of sex between them, he wrote. In addition to numerous affairs, he fathered 11 children with 4 different wives and had a particular penchant for much younger women, 3 of his wives being teenagers at the time of marriage. His acrimonious divorce from his second wife, actress Leda Gray, whom he is thought to have seduced when she was just 15, led to a then-record settlement of £625,000. Chaplin could have faced imprisonment on charges of sex with a minor and, with his career threatened by the scandal, marriage to Gray was the only way out. But while he was a shameless womanizer, who at times treated his lovers shabbily, in his defense, he was usually loyal to those who worked for him. He tended to have the same team for most of his films. And when his old mentor Fred Carno went bankrupt and came to the U.S., Chaplin did his best to assist him. "I think jealousy came into it," says John Conway. Chaplin was jealous of Laurel and saw him as a rival. Also, he very much wanted to leave his old life in England behind. He wanted to reinvent himself in America. In the end, despite their rift, both Chaplin and Laurel achieved success they could only have dreamt of when they were teenagers, rooming together in seedy boarding houses. As the little tramp, Chaplin became the most recognizable man in the world, more famous than any king, emperor or politician. The one-time workhouse inmate became fabulously wealthy, signing a contract worth $1 million in 1918. The biggest name in silent comedy, the multi-talented Chaplin went on to star in, direct and also compose the music for a number of cinematic classics. In 1940, in his first full-sound film, he lampooned Adolf Hitler in The Great Dictator, the film ending with a stirring anti-war monologue regarded by many as the greatest speech made in any film. A global celebrity of his age, Chaplin met with and befriended leading political figures such as Winston Churchill and Mahatma Gandhi. Yet after the war, the man who played the little tramp found himself at the center of controversy again when his progressive political views fell foul of the U.S. authorities and he was accused of communist sympathies. Banned from America, he moved to Switzerland where he finally found contentment with his fourth wife, Una. Knighted in 1975, Sir Charles Chaplin died on Christmas Day 1977, aged 88, and the world mourned a genius. And once his one-time understudy Stan Laurel teamed up with Oliver Hardy in 1927, he too became an international star and a very rich man. They made 106 films together, including 27 full-length sound features, among them classics such as Way Out West and 8 Chump at Oxford, in which Stan receives a bump on the head and is mistaken for the great scholar Lord Paddington. Regarded as the funniest and most influential double act of all time, Stan and Ollie, like Chaplin, enjoyed global appeal, with their slapstick antics still enjoyed by millions of viewers today. They made their last film together in 1951, and their last public appearance 4 years later. In 1957, Hardy died and Laurel, who had been ill himself, made it clear it was the end of the road for him too. "What is there to say? He was like a brother to me. This is the end of the history of Laurel and Hardy," he told the press. Like his former friend Chaplin, Laurel had a complicated love life. He was also married 4 times, including twice to the same woman. Suffering from cancer, he died in February 1965 aged 74. Now here's an interesting thought. Without the fallout, might it have been Laurel and Chaplin, instead of Laurel and Hardy? All things considered, it was probably for the best that the two men took different paths. That way we got double the laughs. Visit John Conway Productions for details of future performance.
To